So this is the 8-3 worksheet answers. Any questions? I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. Any questions on any of these problems that you want to be able to go over and do? Anything I can help you? Yeah, Jason. Number 15, sure. Any others you want to go over?
Number 17.
17, sure. Okay. So let's look at, oh, you have another one? 16? Okay, the last two. And I think it's because there's two triangles there. Probably a little bit difficult. That's fine. So let's start with 15, which is a little bit easier since it only has the one triangle. And remember our process. If I want to decide, am I using Pythagorean theorem? Am I using trigonometry? Maybe I'm using special right triangles. Maybe I'm actually having to use a geometric mean. I'm not sure. So those are my four choices when I'm dealing with right triangles. Geometric mean, special right triangles, trigonometry, or Pythagorean theorem. And so those are the four things you want to ask yourself every time you're looking at a picture, which one of those four tools am I going to be using? So look at the information that you're given and being asked to use and decide which one of those four am I going to use. What do you think? Trig. And why do you know that? You're right. Because I have angles and sides, okay? And when I have angles and sides, that's usually, and I have a right triangle, that means I want to be able to use trigonometry. So once I've figured out that I'm using trig, now I'm going to have to decide whether I'm using sine, cosine, or tangent. And before I can do that, I have to label my sides. So according to the angle x, what side 10? Opposite, very good. And how about side 1.6? Good. So which trig function does opposite and adjacent? The tangent, good. So I know my equation's going to say the tangent of angle x, because it's always the sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle, is equal to whatever the ratio is. So it's opposite over adjacent, so it's 10 over 1.6. Now, when I was looking at Ryan's work, he did a great job. He went ahead and said, well, I know that x is equal to the inverse tangent of 10 divided by 1.6. Why did we do an inverse tangent? Why are we doing the inverse? Because we're looking for the angle. Anytime you're asked to find the angle, you know that you're going to do the inverse. Now, some of you went straight to the second equation, didn't even do the first one. Perfectly okay with me. Since you know that you're going to do the angle anyway, you can go ahead and just go right to this. You should always double check that your calculator's in what mode? Degree, and I want you to check it now. It may or may not be in degree mode the day of your test, because we're going to be resetting those calculators. So please check it. Always get into the habit. I can't get this to turn on. There it goes. Okay. Oh, I think I just turned it back off. There. Okay. So mine's in degree mode, so I'm good to go. And we're going to simply just type in the inverse tangent. Maybe. There we go. Inverse tangent of 10 divided by 1.6. And I get 80.91. Did it ask you for the nearest degree? So that would be 81 degrees to the nearest degree. Okay? Any questions about that one before we get to the more complicated ones? We okay? All right. If you look at the last two, okay, these are a little bit more difficult because you have two triangles put together. And so sometimes you have to separate them or treat them one at a time. So I'm looking for the values of W and X. Which one should we start with here, W or X? Why would you suggest W? I think W too, but why would you suggest it? Because if you look at what W is a part of on the left-hand side, I have a right triangle there. Would you agree? And I already have the hypotenuse in one of the angles. And I'm looking for W happens to be one of the sides. So which one of the four things am I going to be doing? Special rights, trig, Pythagorean theorem, or geometric mean? Trig again, because I have a combination of angles and sides. So I'm going to go ahead and label my sides. I have W as the opposite of 44, and it's the hypotenuse. Now that O and the H only deal with angle 44. When I go to the other triangle, I will have to erase those and start again. Okay? Sometimes you have to relabel. So which trig function does O and H? Good. So it's going to be the sine of my angle is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse. How do I solve for W in this case, Sharia? What am I going to do to get W by itself? Right now, what's with the W? And am I currently adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing by 30? So I want to undo division, which means I'm going to do what to both sides? Good. I'm going to multiply both sides by 30. So now that's going to go ahead and undo the division. So W is equal to just 30 times the sine of 44, which you can just simply type into your calculator once you are in the correct mode. And 30 times the sine of 44 happens to be 20.84, approximately. It does say to the nearest tenth, so we'll say 20.8. Okay? Now, knowing that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase my O and my H because I don't want those to be there, because now I'm going to be looking at the other triangle. The other triangle I'm going to here highlight in light blue. Tell me what kind of a triangle that is and how do I know it for sure? It is a right triangle. How do I know it for sure? Not opposite interiors, he's close. Alternate, yeah. When you have parallel lines cut by a transversal, and I know that they're parallel because of those little arrows, I have a transversal here. I happen to know that this is also a right angle because those are alternate interior angles. Awesome. So now I do have a right triangle. The blue one's right. I know that this side here is 20.8. How do I find X? Well, I need to relabel now according to this angle X. We know the 45 is a what? OH or A? H, good. And I know in this case, according to this angle X, 20.8 is what? It's A this time. So which trig function does AH? Cosine, good. So I'm going to do the cosine of my angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is great. How do I solve for X, Maddie? What do I need to do special here? Can't multiply yet. How do I solve for X? Where is X right now? It's with the cosine. It's being plugged into the cosine, and I need to undo that. Since the cosine's a function, how do I undo that? Don't divide. I want to do the inverse, okay? Because X is an angle in this case, okay? So anytime I'm looking for an angle, meaning angle X, I know that I have to do the inverse of that, okay? So that's where that inverse comes from, okay? You know where to find that on the calculator? You know how to plug it in? Where is the inverse cosine going to be? Second cosine. So make sure that you find that. So if I do second cosine, and I'm going to type in 20.8 divided by 45. And I get about 62 point, did it say the nearest degree for the angle? I think it probably does, the nearest degree. So it's going to be to the nearest degree what? 62. It's approximately 62 degrees. Okay. This was a tough problem because it was a two-stepper, wasn't it? You had to find two different things. There are several problems on your test where that happens too. Well, you'll have two triangles together, and you'll have to use part of one that you found to solve for the other one. So that's going to happen on your test. Guaranteed. Okay? I think I'd like for all of you to re-look at number 17. I'm going to pause the recording for a minute. I want you to try it again to see if you can figure out, now I know a little bit how to try it. I'm going to turn the lights up. I want you guys to try 17 again. How can I separate them into two different problems to figure out what X and W are? To get you started, which one should you solve for first, X or W? W, good. So solve for W first. Perfect. All right, it is the tangent to solve for W. Give me the equation that you used, Eric. The tangent of what? Equals. Very good. We know that we have the opposite and the adjacent according to angle 70 here, which is the tangent. Very good. Again, we're only looking right now at this little triangle, little right triangle here to the side, not the entire thing. So we're going to go ahead. Now at this point, how do I solve for W? Deshay, this one's harder, because where's W now? How is it different than the one we did with the sine 44 on the other side, on 16? Where's the W here? It's at the bottom, which means that to solve for W, it's kind of a two-step process. I need to first multiply both sides by W and then divide by the tangent of 70. Or you can just go ahead and know that it becomes this. Okay? So just make sure that that's where we're going with this. That's, to me, it's pretty hard. It's a two-step process. Any questions about where that came from? You good, Amira? Okay. So 16 divided by the tangent of 70 is going to be about 5.8. So that looks good. We got the same answer as the book. Okay. Now how do I find x? I'm going to go ahead and erase my O and my A because I don't need that now. But I know that that's 5.8. How do I solve that? Julian, what'd you do? That's awesome. So what he did is said, okay, I'm going to treat the whole big triangle as one. And I'm going to call the bottom B for bottom. I don't care. C, something else. Okay, I'm going to call it B. And angle 41 is still there. And I have 16 still over here. What trig function is that? From 16 and the 41, isn't that still the opposite? And then what about the B? Still the adjacent. So we're still using the tangent. So the tangent of 41 is equal to 16 over B. Okay, well, isn't that just, we have a different angle, 41. So B is going to be 16 divided by the tangent of 41. So if we type that in, 16 divided by the tangent of 41, I get 18.4. But that's not the answer they got. They got 12.6. Well, remember, B is the whole bottom. We only want the x, right? So we have to subtract off the 5.8, and that'll give it to us. So x is going to be 18.4 minus 5.8, which gives us 12.6. Okay? That was excellent. Some people might have tried to do x plus 5.8 in the problem, and it made it a little bit more difficult, but I like the way you did it. Good job. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at the answers on the next part of your homework. Here they are, starting at the beginning. Is it an angle of depression or elevation? Hopefully 1 through 8 should have been pretty quick and easy. So just double check those there. They kind of made it a little bit wordier than I think I would have. Okay? So I would have just said depression, elevation, depression, elevation, depression, elevation, depression, elevation. Did y'all do that too? I would have been like D-E, D-E, D-E. All right, good. We're on the same boat. I would have done that too. All right, let's scroll down here. Here are some of the other answers. Any of those you need to go over? Simon, you did good? It's because you're a genius. It's hard to be you, right? I'm going to grow up to be Simon one day. No, yes. You're good. Nothing here? We're all okay? All right, then, let's look at the next page. 13 and 14. I graded 14, and only about half of you got that one right. So I think I'd at least like to go over 14. Can we do that? Okay. So let's look at 14. What are 13 and 14 missing? Pictures. Okay? So on your test, you're going to have a whole section of problems that are these word problems, these real-life examples. And you're going to be, some of them have pictures and some of them don't. So if they don't have a picture, part of your grade or part of the rubric that I'm going to use to grade your test will be, is the picture right? So let's address the picture issue with 14. We have a hot air balloon. She looks down, so I'm going to put H up here for hot air balloon, and she looks down and sees a sheep. Why a sheep? I don't know. Okay, but there's a sheep down there. And the angle of depression is 35 degrees. Since we're talking about angle of depression, I know I'm talking about right triangle. Where does the angle of depression go? Remember what that is. So I'm going to not appear in the triangle, but remember I can kind of draw a horizontal out in space, and it is 35 degrees outside the triangle. Is there an angle inside the triangle that's also 35 degrees? The elevation up to the balloon, wouldn't you agree? Because of that alternate interior angle thing. So down here, I have 35 degrees also. Okay? Now it says the sheep is 125 feet from where the woman is looking down from the balloon. I don't think the wording on that's very clear. Which one do you think is 125? I think it's the hypotenuse too, and it actually turns out that's what they're looking for. I think a better way to say that would be maybe she spots, she sees, the sight distance to the sheep, etc. Okay? If it was talking about the bottom, it would say the horizontal distance. Okay? I would try to be clear on that. You think it's clear? Okay, maybe I just read too much into it. It could be me. That's fine. Maybe. Maybe I'm weird. That's fine. How high off the ground is the balloon? So what am I looking for? The height, or what's another word? Begins with an A? Altitude, maybe? Okay. So we're looking for that. So which trig function am I going to use? Well, first of all, do I even know I'm using trig? How do I know for sure, Josh? Angles and sides combined. Good. So I'm looking for which trig function? Well, I don't know until I label OH and A. So let's do that. So we have O and right, opposite of 35. A lot of you put cosine. Is it because you had 35 in the top corner of the triangle? Is that why those of you who got it wrong got it wrong? Okay. Make sure that when we're talking about angle of depression, it's on the outside of the triangle. It's the same as the angle of elevation. So make sure the placement is important. So this is the sine. The sine of 35 is equal to x over 125. Okay? Ingrid, how do I solve that for x? Fine. Perfect. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 125. And x is just 125 times the sine of 35. So 125 times the sine of 35, and I get about 72 degrees. Not 72 degrees, to the nearest foot, 72 feet. I apologize. Okay? So it's just the placement of the angle that threw us off. Any questions about why it is where it is? Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask, like, where do they still calculate like these? Because whenever
I have lots of places.
whenever I find a calculator online or something, and I change it to degrees, and I put exactly what she put there, it still gives me the wrong answer.
Depends on the kind of calculator and how you're pressing the numbers. If you're using a scientific calculator, you have to type in 35 and then hit sign. Enter, then multiply it by 125. Because you're not in the degree mode.
I did.
Well, I have to look at what you did. So I don't know what you did. I don't know what program you used. But if you want to purchase the calculator, give me 1 second. If you're going to purchase a calculator, they're about $120, $130. They have them at Staples, Walmart, Target. Give me some others. Huh? Home Depot has them? Office Depot. I was like, Home Depot? Wow, get a drill and a calculator. Who knew? But I have a free one called Wabbit online. On our School Fusion homepage, you can download it. If you have your tablet, that you got your free tablet, you can download it to your tablet for free. So don't go spend $130. Just download the one I have. There's a link to it online, okay, on our School Fusion page. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you can do anything. It's a free program. Somebody told me that if you have a Android phone, that it works on that too. There's an app in their app store. Somebody else said that recently iPhone added the Wabbit too, but I tried and couldn't find it. So again, the W, it's like not the rabbit, but Wabbit, W-A-B-B-I-T. That's the app you're going to be looking for. And that's the link I have online too. Okay? All right. Here are the last three that you guys had to do. So double check any questions or answers on those. And any of those you'd like to go over or do or whatever. Yes, ma'am. 18? Sure. So let's look at 18. This will be our last one from the homework anyway. Okay. So problem 18, what again are you missing? Picture. So you got to draw it, okay? So it says you are 55 feet from a tree. So here's me over here, and I'm going to just draw my tree so I know that it's a tree. And I am 55 feet. And that means the horizontal distance from me to the tree is 55 feet. It says the angle of elevation from your eyes. So here's my face and my eyes. So I've got somewhere up there. But it's 4.5 feet off the ground. So this distance here from my eyes to the ground is 4.5 feet. Are we okay with the picture so far? All right. It says the angle of elevation is 61 degrees. Okay. How tall is the tree? Well, we have to remember the tree is going to continue to go all the way to the ground. So we'll add that 4.5 feet at the end. For now, let's worry about just the triangle. Which trig function am I using? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent, because I have opposite and I have adjacent from my 61 degrees. Gabriel, give me the equation. You can do it. Uh-huh. 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 Very good. All right, how do I solve this? What am I going to do? Let's see, who haven't I called on? Valon. How do I solve it? Good, multiply both sides by 55. So I just have 55 times the tangent of 61 is equal to x. Now, when I type it into my calculator, it's not the answer it gives me. 55 times the tangent of 61. I get 99.2, okay? Or 99. Why is that not this answer? Yeah, because that was just from my eyes. So the tree is from my eyes up. That's how tall the tree is. But I have to add the 4.5. So my final answer is 99.2 plus 4.5, and to the nearest foot, which is what it says, that's approximately 104 feet. Okay. By the way, have you ever seen that little dash mark that means feet? This is my notation, huh? What did you say? Oh, 2 of them means inches. Okay. So if you ever have 2 little dashes, those 2 little tick marks, that means inches. 1 means feet. Huh? Yeah, that's feet. 1 is feet, 2 is inches. Because, you know, we're Americans and we can't deal with the metric system for whatever reason. Anyway. All right. If you would, let's go ahead and look at the problem I asked you to write down on your homework, or while I was checking homework. Okay? Hey. You want to make sure you copy it down. How in the world am I going to solve this problem? When you were copying it down, what did you notice? Did you notice anything? How many right triangles do I even see in this picture? More than 2. I see 3, okay? But we're not going to need to use all 3. We'll only use 2 of them. Can I find, if I want to find the each building, which one do I have to find first? The smallest one, okay? If I find the smallest building, can't I use this triangle here? Because isn't this x the same as this x? So I could find the height of the smaller building. Perfect. How do I do that? Am I using trig, first of all? Shreya? Yes? All right, let's label my sides in the yellow triangle, opposite, hypotenuse, OH and A. What do you think x is? Shreya, you like became a boy and moved over here. What do you think? Just for the yellow triangle. What's x? OH or A? Good. And then what other side do I know in the yellow triangle? Good, which is 100, and that's going to be OH or A. Good. So which trig function does OA? Tangent. So I know that to find x, the tangent of my angle is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. We good so far? Andrea, what do I do to solve for x? Perfect. So multiply both sides by 100. So 100 times the tangent of 42 is about 90. Okay. So the smaller building is about 90 feet. All right. Fair enough. Now we need to know the height of the taller building. Julia, how do I do that? What triangle am I going to use to find that one? Which right triangle? Yeah, the smaller one. Good. What am I looking for here? I already know that this is 100. I need to find this height. We'll call it y. That's not the height of the whole building, but couldn't I add it to 90 and get the whole building? Okay, good enough. Which trig function am I going to use? I'm going to erase the O and the A so I don't get confused. Daniela, help me out. In the blue triangle. I'm still using the tangent. I still have opposite and adjacent because this is the opposite side. This is the adjacent side. So I have the tangent of 28 is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. And I get that the top of the building is about 53 feet. So the tall building is going to be 90 plus 53 feet, or about 143 feet. What do you think? This is kind of like the problems you had for homework with the two triangles, except for now it's a real problem. Now it's got an application. Now it's got a context to it. Okay? All right. We have two more ones that I have chosen on purpose. Okay? Here's a short one. So I'm going to pause the recording. I want you to add these to your notes for today. The first question I have for you is, what the heck is a Pythagorean triple? What do you think it is? Julian? Okay. So there's a couple ways to look at it. Okay, you're on the track for one of the ways. There's also a different way. We know that they're going to satisfy the Pythagorean theorem, the three numbers, if they are a Pythagorean triple. So they have to satisfy the a squared plus b squared equals c squared to be able to work. And Julian's suggestion is, well, these could be the two smaller sides. They could be a and b, and we need to find c. Okay. Am I telling you that these are a and b and we're trying to find c? No. But that's one of the options. Okay. Could you maybe, what if this was b and c? Could you find a? What if this was a and c? Could you find b? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we're not sure which one it is. It doesn't really matter because it just says find a number. It doesn't say which one, does it? But it does say whole number. So let's try Julian's way first, and let's see if it does work. If it doesn't, then we might have to try it as a different, if it's not a whole number, maybe it doesn't work that way. Okay? So let's try. So we're going to say 33 squared plus 44 squared is equal to c squared. So try your best to go ahead and solve that equation for c. Tell me what c would be. If it's a decimal, it doesn't work. This is not the correct way to do it, and I'll show you the other way. But try it first. So yes, this does actually end up working. C is going to be 55, okay? If it didn't give you an actual whole number, you would just have to rewrite the equation. A different possible way to write it would be, what about 33 squared plus b squared is equal to c squared? Is equal to 44 squared. Okay? We could try that and see if it worked and solve it. Like if this number wasn't a whole number, we'd have to try it. We'd have to maybe see if we were missing the other number and go from there. This one doesn't, I don't think, gives you the correct option. But I wanted to at least show that to you. Okay? So this one's not going to give you a whole number. Okay. Feel comfortable with that question? As long as you know what a triple is, right? All right, here's the last one I want you to add. Okay? Let's see, this one's kind of like the building question, but a little bit worded a little bit different and no picture. So try this last one. So, 2 helicopters. I'm going to use N for Miss Nash and M for Miss Mackert. Miss Mackert's taller, it says. It says that Miss Mackert's helicopter is at a slightly higher elevation. It's just higher up, so I know that. The 2 helicopters are 200 feet apart. So we know that this distance is 200. Okay. Miss Nash notices she must look up at an angle of 25 degrees to see Miss Mackert and her helicopter. So we have 25 of angle of elevation. Would you agree with that so far? Do I care how high Miss Nash is off the ground? Do I care how high Miss Mackert is off the ground? We don't care from the ground how high we are. We just want to know the difference between each other. So this is all the information we really need. Which side is X? Someone to the opposite side, the side that's across from the 25 degrees. Would you agree? That's going to be the difference, how much higher Miss Mackert is off the ground than Miss Nash. Okay. So once we have a picture drawn, now all we have to do is solve it. Now it's not hard. I think the picture was hard, maybe, to draw this, but now it's just a regular trig problem. Labeling it OH and A, which trig function are we going to use? Tangent. We've done the tangent a lot today. I don't think we've done the cosine once, have we? So the tangent of 25 is equal to x over 200. How much further off the ground am I than Miss Nash? So 200 times the tangent of 25, 93 feet higher. Okay. In my helicopter. Fair enough. Okay, so you said you had a question you wanted me to go over. If you have any problem that you don't remember from older stuff, flip through. I'm here to answer your questions because the only thing we're going to spend the rest of class doing right now, I'm going to hand back your quizzes, okay? And we can go over any of those questions. And then you're going to work on the test review, which is the last couple pages in your packet. But before I give you your quizzes, was there something on an older question you wanted to look at? Can you just show me? Sorry.
It was like this, like you had to do 2 different...
Oh, special rights? You mind if I just pick it? I'll just change numbers or something?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So special rights is definitely something that you're going to have to do. If I ever ask you to give your answer in reduced radical form, that means it's either Pythagorean theorem or special right triangles. That's your hint, okay? All right, so this is the question that he's talking about. I'm going to just create one in at least a similar picture. And different number, okay? Let's see what we have to do here. So how do I know, remember you have 4 choices. I have trig, Pythagorean theorem, special rights, or geometric mean. How do I know which one I'm going to use here? What am I going to use here? I could use trig as long as it didn't say leave your answer in reduced radical form, okay? But because the directions say that, I have to use what? Special rights. Special rights. I don't know that that's looks like it could be a geometric mean, but Marvin, I don't know that that's a 90-degree angle up here. Like this angle up here has to be 90 to use a geometric mean, and it's not labeled. It's a good thought though, okay? But I do have 30 degrees and 45 degrees, which means I know it's special right angles. So we want to find x and y. The problem is on the triangle on the right, the only information I have is a 30-degree angle. I need more. How do I find more? What do I do?
Well, you know that the multiply is 60.
Well, even if I know this is 60 degrees, that doesn't help me. I need at least one side, don't I? And I don't have it yet. Can I find one of the sides on the right-hand side? Yes, I can. I can actually find this guy, which happens to be on both of the triangles, okay? So let's find it first, and then I can use it to find x and y, okay? So let's look at the left-hand triangle for a minute. How do I find that? I have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. If you want to go ahead and use the 45, 45, 90, you know it's 1, 1, square root of 2. So we could write a proportion. We're looking for 1 over, can I call that z just so it's a different number? Is that okay with you guys? So 1 over z is equal to 1 over z is equal to square root of 2 over 6. Okay with me what I did? No? Yes? Cross multiply. Divide by the square root of 2. Some of you can just know that to go from the hypotenuse to the side, you have to divide by the square root of 2. That's fine. Now, if I wanted your answer in reduced radical form, could I leave it like that? No. But I'll do that at the end. Is that okay? I'm going to leave it like that for now. Okay, so this is 6 divided by radical 2. How does it help me find x and y? Go ahead, Marvin. Okay, so let's draw that one. So I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And I know that it goes 1, 2, square root of 3. So let's write a proportion to solve for x first. So x over the square root of 3 is equal to what? X over the square root of 3 is equal to 6 over radical 2. We'll just leave it like that. Over 1. Good. X times 1. Here is the problem, and this is where we might get confused. How do I take the square root of 3 times 6 divided by the square root of 2? How do I deal with that? I put the square root of 3 over 1. So I have 6 radical 3 over radical 2. Not reduced yet. What's wrong with leaving my answer that way? I have a radical in the denominator, so I'm going to rationalize it. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, which gives me 6 radical 6 over 2. If you remember, still not done because I can divide those two. So my final answer for x becomes 3 radical 6. Yes, love? Sure? Okay. You multiply what's under the radical. 3 times 2 is 6. All right, how do I find y? I could do the same thing with the proportion. 6 divided by radical 2 over 1 is equal to y over 2. And you would do the same thing from there. Okay? It's hard. It's the radical stuff. Just got to practice. Okay? All right, let me hand back your quizzes, and we can go over whatever questions you might have on those, and then I'll have you guys work on the review. Okay? So let me pause this for it. Yes, honey. Did I already go? I know. Did we go over it already though? Oh, we did. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. Wanted you to make sure you have it. You can keep it now to study with or whatever. Okay. But we've already gone over the answers or whatever. Okay. Good. Then that's fine. But keep this, and you can put holes in it. I don't think there were holes in it to begin with, so make sure that you do that. It should go in your right triangle section of your binder. Your homework, and we have about 30 minutes left, is simply going to be, I passed back if we did that, is if you look at the very back of your triangle packet, it says extra practice, and I think it's 2 pages long. Make sure that everybody has that in your packet. Do you see that at the end? extra practice on chapter 8. I believe that's those two problems, 1 through 32, is your test review. Now, it's not totally everything that will be on your test exactly word for word like it, okay? They're just extra problems in addition to the ones we went over in class, okay, that you could see on your test. So for now, I want you to spend the last 30 minutes or so going ahead and working on those problems. If you finish it, great. All you have to do is study for homework. You can go ahead. Oh, you know what else I have to show you? You forgot to remind me. The online stuff, didn't I? All right. Can I show you that real quick before you get started? And then if anybody needs to create or forgot their password or anything on their online textbook, I can show you. So let me go ahead and pull it up. All right, so over the snow days, if you don't mind, Reese, just hang on just a quick second, okay? Over the snow days, I went ahead and assigned you guys some SOL practice work to be working on. Some of you may or may not have gotten started. It's kind of what you guys decided to do. But it is the first of a couple of SOL reviews. We're going to be taking the first two, what I like to call, actually the book calls them, the Virginia benchmark tests. There's a total of 5 of them, and we've gotten through the first 2 so far. I will probably assign the 3rd and the 4th one after spring break. But for now, between now and when we get back from spring break, so between now and April 6th, you have time to take these 2 benchmark tests. When you log into www.pearsonsuccessnet.com, you will see this information. And if you need me to re-give you your password or reset it or whatever, I'll do that today, okay? But you have your book, and that's fine if you want to use your book, but that's not where you go. If you click on the to-do, it always does this to me. Hang on. 1 second. Get rid of that. Okay. If I click on the to-do tab, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff, okay? You do not need to do everything here. I'm going to be very clear about what you have to do. Everything that you see on the first page are suggested exercises for practice and review. If I click on one of them, I'm just going to click on the first one, okay? It's going to come up, and this one happens to have 8 exercises. Let me just click on one of the exercises so we can see an example of what you might see. Find the area of a circle. Okay. We probably haven't really done a whole lot with area of a circle, but this is it's from the book, so not everything exactly matches up, but that's okay. If we forget what the area is, let's view an example. And it tells you that here's the formula you're going to use. And then we could go ahead and press continue. It shows us the answer and how to solve it. Help me solve it in case I really don't know. It tells me a suggestion on how to get started. Let's go ahead and type in an answer. I'm going to type in, I don't know, 10. Let's just type in 10. I wonder if it'll let me do pi. Oh, yeah. So if we do 10, and I want to go back in here, here's the pi button, okay? So if I type in 10 pi, let's just see what happens. Okay, I know it's wrong because it's pi r squared, so it should be 100 pi, right? But anyway, so if I go back, it's not done. I want to go back in and correct and say, oh, I know it's 100 pi. Let's see if it gives me the correct answer, and I'm done, okay? So again, these are just suggested problems, okay? These suggested 8 problems for you to go through and practice and do. Nothing's required, but they're suggestions. If you click on page 2, you'll see a couple of more, but the last 2 are the ones that are required, okay? They are called Virginia Benchmark Test 1 and Virginia Benchmark Test 2. You have until April 6th to get these 2 assignments complete. If you have problem with computer access at home, remember that you can come after school starting next week, Monday through Thursday, activity buses run. You can, I believe, remember you can get your tablet and access it from there. But you can see me and we can make arrangements for you to come during flex if you need to. I can let you in a computer lab. Any of those things would work, okay? But these 2 benchmark tests between now and April 6th, so you have several weeks to get them done. And they should all be review material that we've done so far. They're going to count each as like a part of a test. So all 5 together will count as a test grade. Does that make sense? So they're each going to be 20 points in your grade in the grade book. Are we okay with that? Any questions? So together, all the onlines will count as the same as a test grade. Okay? All right. Fair enough. Go ahead and work on your review at this point then. I just wanted to make sure I showed you that. If you know that you don't have access to your online account because you've either forgotten your username or password, come see me in the back and I'll help you, okay?